Hello and welcome to an India Today special broadcast that comes to you from the strife-torn Ukrainian capital Kyiv. I'm Gaurav Sawant. Over the course of the next 1 hour, we get you ground realities of this strife-torn country. Even as we speak, the Russian forces are slowly advancing towards Kyiv. The situation is extremely dicey, it's extremely grim. As this broadcast comes to you from the outskirts of Kyiv, where we are very close. Well, we have the Ukrainian defenses just behind us, and behind them, we are told just some kilometers away are the Russian forces. Now, the Russian forces are launching multiple probe operations. What's their aim? They want to probe. Wherever they find mush or they find softness, they want to probe deeper. But the Ukrainians are fighting back. And over the course of the next 1 hour, India Today's biggest team of reporters. We have reporters in Kyiv, in Bravery, in Irpin, in Bucha, in Kharkiv. Across this country, we will get you ground reports. We begin with this report. This is the road from Bravery that the Russians want to take. They haven't been able to take it so far. This is the Special Forces team. Their job is to interdict the supplies. India Today's team will continue to report from ground zero. What's the situation in Kyiv right now? Day 16 of war.
So we are expecting enemy from any hour. And because they are absolutely nearby Kyiv.
You are here in a border post at the front line. How difficult is the situation?
Situation is difficult because you know it's war.
This is the suburbs of Kyiv city, and a Russian rocket that fell on this house destroyed the entire house. This entire village is now or wears an abandoned look.
कीव के पूर्वी मोर्चे पर किस तरीके के हमले हुए हैं, ये उसकी एक बानगी है. देखिए, सड़क बिल्कुल टूट कर भीतर धंस गई है. मिसाइल के जो ये अटैक हुए हैं इस जगह पर. कैमरा पर्सन सैयद मोहसिन के साथ श्वेता सिंह, ब्रेवरी, आज तक.
With British journalist Syed Mohsin in the frontline area of Ukraine, Geeta Mohan for India Today.
With cameraman Pawan Kumar in Bravery, Ukraine, Gaurav Sawant for India Today. India Today has the biggest team of reporters on ground zero, and over the course of the next 1 hour, we will get you details. But we're at the front lines at this point of time, and the war appears to be coming much closer to Kyiv. So soldiers on guard at all times. Now, camouflage nets, 21st century Europe in Kyiv. The battle lines now inside the capital or very close to the borders of the capital, and we are talking to some of the officers and soldiers of the Ukrainian Special Forces and the army. So what's the situation in Kyiv right now? Day 16 of war.
So we are expecting enemy from any hour. And because they are absolutely nearby Kyiv, our army would like and try to stop them. But some people, some soldiers try to go inside of Kyiv because they have order. And so our order is to stop them, and so to absolutely to kill all possible enemies.
So right now, and the temperature right now is -6 here in Kyiv, 6 below zero. Fortunately, there's sun, but in the night it plummets to almost -9, -10. You're out on the streets at all times, day or night, patrolling.
Yeah, of course. We are on duties, trying to sleep a little bit. So trying to be, it's cold, really cold, but we are using fire, trying to make it a little bit easier for us.
So this is like the front line. The Russians are trying to infiltrate.
Of course, they are trying to use civil cars. They are trying to use civil clothes, to come inside Kyiv. They have weapons, and the question is that it's rather dangerous, and so we'll try to infiltrate them, to stop them, and sometimes when their tanks are blocked or, for example, fired, so they try to go inside of Kyiv, and so the question is to infiltrate first of all them and to destroy and of course, to kill them. What's the reason?
So the Ukrainian army, as you see, all these officers and men with me, and including of the Special Forces with their maroon berets and badges that you can see, the front line is virtually inside the city right now. Very interesting point being made by the officer here that the Russians are in plain clothes, in civil cars, trying to infiltrate inside the city. But their tanks in Bravery, we've just returned from Bravery, and I believe in Bravery some Russian tanks were destroyed. Are they now trying to use some other access to come in, that 63-kilometer long convoy?
Yeah, of course they're trying, but so we are trying to stop them. So we have special forces to stop at least tanks, to stop their vehicles, and of course, but they are trying to use civil. This is the problem. They are trying to use a shelter, our civil ladies, children. So they are crazy. So they don't want to act according to the law, at least of the war. Of course, this is a problem.
So you have your M16. I see some of the soldiers with you have their AK series assault rifles. So 5.56 ammunition, 7.62 ammunition. What about the ATGMs and the NLAWs that you were waiting for? Have you got those now?
So first of all, we're on the first level. They have enough weapons, yeah. First of all, javelin, and so our army at least. So of course we studied, and we are ready to use it too. So maybe in some hours we will receive all necessary equipment, because when we will really need it, when tanks will be absolutely here, then we will have everything possible for this, to stop them.
So right now where we are, the soldiers are prepared. Very little time to sleep, very little time to rest, because they're on duty virtually 24/7. Some of these camouflage nets that you see around me, multicolored to shield them from incoming. There are chances of an air attack. There are chances of missile strikes, and you're taking care. Now for heat, as you can see, the drum here has just wood. Wood is what you're burning for. The Russians, we are told, are running short of fuel. Is that true, that their tanks are running out of fuel?
Yeah, of course they have no enough fuel, because they try to supply their tanks with fuel, but we try to destroy all this supplying. And of course they're hungry mainly, and so they haven't enough food, they haven't enough fuel. So really they are looking very stupid. So it was stupid idea, because their boss is absolutely mad. He's crazy.
So this is the special forces team, and their job is to interdict the supplies. Their job is to ensure that convoy movement isn't smooth, and that is what these brave Ukrainian soldiers have been doing, interdicting the supply, interdicting their supply lines all across. With cameraman Pawan Kumar, on day 16 of the Ukraine-Russia conflict on the borders of Kyiv, Ukraine, Gaurav Sawant for India Today. The situation is extremely grim. You heard that special forces officer, you've heard the team. What they're doing is they're trying to infiltrate behind what they call other enemy lines. What they're doing is the Russians have come in, since they know the lay of the land, they're going behind the Russian lines, and they're trying to target the supply chain. So when they see the armored personnel carriers, they permit the armored personnel carriers to come in. They permit the tanks to come in the sense they keep quiet. Suddenly when they see fuel trucks coming in, they target the fuel trucks using everything that they have. Whether it's the NLAWs, which is the UK, Sweden missile system, or whether they have the Javelin ATGMs, they're just targeting. So if you target the middle of the convoy, the front of the convoy gets stuck, the rear of the convoy gets stuck, and the entire convoy is stuck. And then it's almost like headless chicken. That's the tactics that they've been adopting so far. How long will they continue to adopt these tactics? Do remember, India Today has the biggest team of reporters on ground. India Today's Shweta Singh, Geeta Mohan, Rajesh Pawar and I. We are reporting from ground zero with the camera person Pawan Kumar and Syed Mohsin. We will continue to get you these reports. But what were the day's developments on day 16 of this conflict? I bumped into, and very accidentally, a television anchor, reporter turned soldier on the front lines of this war in Bravery. Now there are multiple access, multiple ways that you can enter Kyiv. One has been interdicted at Bucha and Irpin. That is where the Ukrainian forces blew up a bridge. The Russian forces cannot move forward from there. The other access that comes from Bravery, it's intact, and it's barely 90 miles from the Belarus border. So should the Russians want, they should be able to come in very quickly. But they cannot. Why? Take a look at this report.
Tense but resolute. Kyiv has been bracing up for the big Russian assault for days now.
This is that main road that the Russians will take hours from now in case they make that big attack towards Kyiv. This is where the attack is coming.
The capital city has turned into a fortress.
Стратегічного перелому ми вже досягли, ми вже йдемо до нашої мети, до нашої перемоги. Це вітчизняна війна. Війна з дуже впертим ворогом.
The Ukrainian army and its citizens are prepared to give the Russians a tough fight.
This is where a bigger a bigger detachment is there. There's a tank right behind this, and there are those surface-to-air missiles, the short-range ones that are parked here. We'll try and speak to some of these officers and look at the damage. Look at this vehicle that is damaged right here. They've tried to escape the shelling. If they can't escape the shelling, this is how their vehicles are destroyed.
Ordinary civilians have picked up arms to support their soldiers and save their motherland.
He's a television correspondent. He's a TV journalist who now has an assault rifle in his hand. He has a commando dagger and his bulletproof jacket. And this road where we are, how far are we from the Russian-Ukrainian front lines?
Just about 2-3 kilometers down this road. There was a huge tank battle 2 days ago, and Ukrainian armed forces was able to destroy Russian heavy armored vehicles column.
Amidst the raging war, the bone-chilling cold winds are acting in the favor of Ukrainians.
They're burning their fuel just to keep themselves warm. They're unable to move forward because they're being challenged at every stage. It's not a smooth ride.
Raining missiles, heavy shelling and continuous bombardment have forced citizens to take refuge in makeshift bomb shelters.
I'm here in a shelter which is in the basement of a big multi-story building. Can you please show them the mattresses and all? There are the people, that's mattresses on the ground where people live right now. People are having breakfast or they have gone for their daily this thing. So they are not really at home, but these are the places where they sleep at night.
The helpless faces of citizens, including children, tell a tale of their own.
Everything will be fine. This is the cost of war. This man has suffered twice, and this is what it is.
После войны я остался один. Я был обратно.
What did he say?
After the war, he was alone, and he had two brothers who were murdered during that war.
Ukrainians are battle ready to face the Russian forces. But is their fighting spirit enough to keep the Russians at bay? Is the fall of Kyiv only a matter of time? With Gaurav Sawant and Rajesh Pawar in Kyiv, Bureau Report, India Today.
The Bravery axis is extremely crucial. Remember, one point of entry into Kyiv is through Bucha and Irpin. The second point is Bravery, and it is a battlefield where the Russians are probing every second. India Today's Shweta Singh, Geeta Mohan and I were on multiple roads from where the Russians will try to come in. The mayor, the soldiers on ground, the militia, the special forces, everyone says that they are trying their best to stop the Russian advance, because this perhaps may just be the chink in the armor, but they're saying they're ensuring that this is their strongest point. Wherever the Russians think that the soldiers are weak here or the defenses are weak here, additional effort is being made, and every second. And India Today's Shweta Singh and Geeta Mohan bring us this report.
Trenches have been dug up to ensure that there is enough protection and defense for the Ukrainian forces to ward off the Russian invasion. Russian forces are here just a distance away, not that far away. We will not give out the logistics, but this is one of the frontline areas where trenches have been dug up. Officers over here say in a matter of 2 or 3 days, these trenches, community also coming in to help in the digging of the trenches. Bunkers have been set. They're all prepared, all set to take on the Russian forces. With British journalist Syed Mohsin in the frontline area of Ukraine, Geeta Mohan for India Today. There's a cold and a very harsh battle up above these bunkers a few kilometers away. But here in this bunker, we have the Ukrainian forces who are waiting their turn to go out and man the posts where their colleagues are. Nikolai over here will tell us a little more about the situation. Sergey, my colleague, is also here, and we're going to just ask them about the situation. So, Nikolai, the fact that there is you're here in a border post at the front line, how difficult is the situation?
Situation is difficult because you know it's war, and in the war it's always all the time situation is difficult, and but we wait. We wait. The Russian it's not so far from us, but we ready. We wait.
In terms of strategy, we know that it's winter, so things get difficult, when it is very cold. You have this warm bunker, but when you're up there in your trenches, is it very difficult? And how?
Yes, it's difficult. It's difficult, but we are patriot and we have Ukrainian side, so I stay in my land. So my land make a hot for me inside. So yes, outside is cool, but
okay. Land over here, Sergey, it is interesting, is quite wide, and the Russians are, some distance away. Should there be a forward movement, an advance, what's the tactical strategy to stop the Russians? Like,
I can't see you about all our plan, but we're ready, and we're waiting, no problem.
Okay. They're ready, they're waiting, and they're determined. There is a huge deployment comes to the front line, and we're speaking to the men who are deployed in the front line to safeguard, to protect their motherland. With video journalist Syed Mohsin in one of the bunkers at the front lines in Bravery, this is Geeta Mohan reporting for India Today.
What's extremely worrisome here in Kyiv, Ukraine, is the plummeting temperature. It's -8 right now. The wind is high. It's fast. It's likely to be colder at night. Could be -10. And because of the wind, it feels much colder. But in this weather, you have many people who are out on the streets defending the city. But what is worse, those who see their homes shattered, those who see the shelters shattered. And there are many buildings, not just military installations, not just government buildings, but even civilian homes that had heating, that had power, that had gas. Those homes now lie shattered, and those people are either now in government shelters or forced to brave these sub-zero temperatures as the Russian advance continues and as Ukrainians use everything in their power to hold on to every inch of their territory, with the Russians virtually at the gates of Kyiv. Geeta Mohan and Shweta Singh with this report.
This is the suburbs of Kyiv city, and a Russian rocket that fell on this house destroyed the entire house. This entire village is now or wears an abandoned look. The impact was so huge. You can see that the soot and the smoke still billowing out of that house, and the region across, the houses across and around surrounding this house also were damaged. So most of the people have left and evacuated from this village, but for the people of Bravery or the people of the Kyiv region where the Russian forces are closing in, it is a scary scenario. Most of them have left their homes, moved to the cities and to the bomb shelters that they can find to keep themselves safe.
Most civilians have left their homes. Senior citizens who couldn't are still there, and that's extremely scary. What is worse is that the Russians, according to the Ukrainian forces, the Russians are entering some of these homes and they're actually plundering these houses. At least that's the claim. We haven't seen this on ground. But when I spoke to one of the young television journalists turned soldier, and he was a young TV anchor and reporter here, but he said when he saw the Russian forces come in, he didn't want to just hold a mic. He went on to underwent a little training. Just 3 days of training, he picked up an assault rifle and now he's at the front lines. His family is actually behind the enemy lines or the current enemy lines. The Russians are not actually targeting the civilians, at least in some areas, but as they move forward, what's the situation on ground? Are the Russians low on supplies? At least that's what the Ukrainians insist. My colleague Geeta Mohan spoke to the mayor of Bravery. Now, Bravery becomes extremely crucial because with Irpin and Bucha, that axis actually interdicted. And until the time that the Russians are able to get their bridge laying tanks or build some kind of a bridge to cross that broken bridge at Irpin, this is the axis that they're likely to exploit in the hours and days ahead. Listen in to the mayor of Bravery speaking exclusively to India Today.
I'm being joined by the mayor of Bravery, Ihor Saposhkwa, who is here to assess the situation given that there is a fight that's ongoing, a battle that's ongoing between the Russian and Ukrainian forces not so far away from here. But this is where 5 missiles fell of the Russian forces and an army hostel was completely damaged. So, sir, what is the situation on the ground? How far are the Russian forces and how are the Ukrainian forces repelling them?
Right now, in 20-25 kilometers, there is going a fight from Bravery area, and the enemies have lots of damages. They have lots of loss of their soldiers, and we are ready for them. We're waiting for them, and welcome to Bravery.
Okay, not go beyond Bravery. That is the determination of the Ukrainian forces. But how are they holding up? How are your men, the Ukrainian forces, holding up?
This is a war in our motherland against the enemies, and they will die in our beautiful ground, which will be very useful for us in the future, and they will not take anything from here.
There's a fight that is ongoing, a battle, and Russian tanks were also set on fire over here. If you could share some details on the tanks and the attack that took place.
This fight happened the day before yesterday, and okay.
It's a security concern. That's why the mayor is being asked to leave right now. They do not want him to stay for long, and we're being asked to leave too, vacate too. So we'll just go there.
And this is the situation on the outskirts of Kyiv. Now remember, Kyiv is the main target of the Russian forces. Russian President Vladimir Putin's aim is very clear. He wants a change of regime. He wants President Vladimir Zelensky to go. He wants the Ukrainian army to no longer carry any North Atlantic Treaty Organization country weapons. He wants only a 60,000 strong force that will be backed by Russia for the country's territorial defense. But what's actually happening on ground? While there may be a ceasefire announced in some pockets of this country, there are relentless Russian attacks that are happening in multiple cities. For Mariupol, for example, and remember, India Today is the only Indian channel that was reporting from ground zero in Mariupol. Mariupol is under attack. Sumy is under attack. Multiple other cities, including Zaporozhye, are under attack. And Zaporozhye and Dnipro are extremely crucial. Zaporozhye has a nuclear power plant. Dnipro is the biggest railway hub in this country. Before I get you much more on the bigger picture of the targeting of Ukraine before that final assault or that major assault on Kyiv, let me get you this report on the targeting of Mariupol. Donbass region extremely crucial. But the targeting of a maternity hospital has left a country shocked and shattered.
These are the most heartbreaking images to emerge from the war in Ukraine so far. A heavily pregnant woman taken out in a stretcher. A young mother with her newborn walking out of the rubble. A horrifying tragedy in the city of Mariupol after Russian troops targeted a children's and maternity hospital. Three, including a little child, died in this deadly attack, and 17 others sustained severe injuries. The world has been left shell-shocked by this attack on innocent civilians, with a clear target of women and babies. President Volodymyr Zelensky has termed the Russian aggression on the children's hospital a war crime.
Це, що окупанти роблять з Маріуполем, це вже за межою звірства. Європейці, українці, маріупольці. Сьогодні ми повинні бути єдиними у засудженні цього воєнного злочину Росії, у якому відображається усе те зло, яке окупанти принесли на нашу землю.
Russia, on the other hand, has denied claims of the attack on the hospital, claiming Ukraine had staged the entire incident and that they never targeted civilian settlements. The devastation reported in this hospital is terrifying. On your screens are images of how this world-class hospital looked before and now. There's nothing left but rubble and dilapidated buildings. With Gaurav Sawant, Rajesh Pawar and Geeta Mohan in Kyiv, Ukraine, Bureau Report, India Today.
There's a sensational claim that's been made by the Ukrainian forces. The Ukrainian army now claims that Islamic State terrorists are fighting alongside the Russian army, especially in this big battle for Kyiv. Remember, so far, they've said that Chechen fighters had infiltrated into the city. They also claimed that there were multiple attacks that were being launched by the Wagner forces or forces from Luhansk and Donetsk. But right now, they're also saying that Islamic State terrorists are now fighting alongside the Russian forces, and their aim is to defeat break through the defenses that have been mounted by the Ukrainian forces. And they say, irrespective of the threat, they will ensure that Russia does not succeed. Of course, that's easier said than done, but we bring you this report.
Russia is recruiting new fighters for its war on Ukraine, and the recruits include former ISIS fighters. That is the explosive claim made by Ukraine. The country, reeling under Russian airstrikes, is alleging Moscow has announced induction of 16,000 former ISIS fighters. Ukraine claims the new recruits will be deployed against civilians. Ukraine is pointing to a bigger diabolical plan. Kyiv claims the entry of ISIS fighters, and Russian accusations of bioweapons in Ukraine means that Moscow is trying to recreate a Syrian scenario. Russia had claimed the US is helping Ukraine build bioweapons.
The purpose of this and other Pentagon-funded biological research in Ukraine was to establish a mechanism for the stealthy spread of deadly pathogens.
What are these allegations of preparing chemical attacks? Have you decided to carry out dechemicalization of Ukraine? Using ammonia? Using phosphorus? What else have you prepared for us?
The White House has rejected Russian charges.
We have seen one of their playbooks is to accuse the other that which you are doing or which you plan to do.
Ukraine fears Russia could be setting the stage for use of chemical weapons in the war. In Syria, Russia had used chemical weapons after alleging that rebels were using one against Moscow in 2013. Back then, global leaders had turned a blind eye to the Russian attacks. Now the fear is, will history repeat itself? Bureau Report, India Today.
The charges are extremely grim. Russia says that US is funding biological warfare studies in Ukraine. A charge that's been denied both by the United States and by Ukraine. But these charges are extremely serious. Russia says bioweapons are being prepared here. President Zelensky says, I have children. I have children who live in this country. Why would we do something like this? But what is worse is reports that are now circulating worldwide that seem to indicate that Ukraine has been asked to destroy all the biological weapon or warfare research material before one city after the other falls to the advancing Russian forces. And do remember, multiple cities here are in the line of fire. The Russians are targeting Dnipro. The Russians are targeting Zaporozhye. The Russians are already in control of Kherson. They're targeting Odessa. They're moving forward from the east. They're moving forward from the south. They're moving forward from the north. We bring you this report on the hazard or the fear of biological weapons and the aspect that bioweapons need to be destroyed before Russian forces move forward.
Imagine biological weapons entering a war that has already killed thousands and displaced millions. The devastation would be swift, the humanitarian consequences massive. The world is concerned, worried enough for the World Health Organization to send out a warning. It has asked Ukraine to destroy all pathogens in its laboratories. A leak of a pathogen could worsen the already existing COVID pandemic. More dangerously, it will serve as a biological weapon. Russia says the United States has chemical and biological weapons labs in Ukraine, a claim that's been endorsed by China. The White House has termed the Russian claim as preposterous.
We are directly involved. We are providing $1 billion in security assistance. We are the largest provider of that. We are providing humanitarian. With the U.S. military going and engaging in Ukraine and fighting a war against Russia, we don't have any intention to do that. Russia is the country that has a chemical and biological weapons programs.
President Zelensky of Ukraine too went on record as saying that Ukraine had no biological weapons.
Прячут своих генералов, скрывают от своего же народа, что отправляют срочников на эту войну, лишь бы только силы вторжения сделать побольше. А мы виноваты. Нас все обвиняют в нападках на якобы миролюбивую Россию. И что теперь? Что это за обвинение в подготовке химических атак? Вы что, решили провести дехимизацию Украины?
America, on the other hand, has charged Russia with having plans to use biological weapons in Ukraine.
From its warships on the
The worry is Russia has a track record and a stockpile of biochemical weapons, including nerve agents. So what exactly are bioweapons? The WHO says biological weapons are microorganisms like viruses, bacteria, fungi or other toxins that are produced and released deliberately to cause disease and death in humans, animals or plants for strategic effects. A new potentially dangerous dimension has been added to the Russia-Ukraine war, one that has to be countered at any cost.
The World Health Organization has asked the government in Ukraine to destroy all the pathogens in labs in Ukraine to ensure that there is no threat of a biological leak or a problem that could create a situation worse than the COVID pandemic. Russia, of course, has warned that the government here in Ukraine is trying to ensure that there would be biological weapons that are being prepared, a charge that's been denied very strongly by the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. With cameraman Pawan Kumar in Bravery, Ukraine, Gaurav Sawant for India. The temperature right now in Ukraine, in Kyiv where we are, is 9 below zero, -9. it could get colder at night. And remember, whether it's the Ukrainian forces defending this country or the Russian forces that are mounting a major offensive against Kyiv or preparing to do so, it's very tough for both sides. It's tougher for the civilians. It's tougher for the non-combatants. On the other side of a quick break, we will tell you about life in Kyiv. We'll tell you about life in other cities in Ukraine. Stay with us on this special broadcast that comes to you from Strife on Ukraine on India Today.